10 year early days, and I guess analytics tell you otherwise. I'm like, dude, like, just drop a button down the third base line, figure out guys. And he's like, well, guys come out of the mound nowadays and like they're that much faster. But like at some point, like, you know, who was it that was? Oh, Mike Trout. Mike Trout was saying I don't think Mike Trout is a fan of the shift. I don't think anybody in baseball is, but he was saying that Albert Pujols in 2020 last year hit so many baseballs, like crushed balls, and yet because of the shift, it's like, I mean, balls that could have been a double or a base hit, but dude, you have a guy, you know, have a shortstop playing in left field, and he's gonna, you know, like it's
especially with Albert because you can't run. I think they have the shortstop playing in the grass because they know you can't run. I heard they're eliminating the shift, because it is making the game boring. Like we need a little more offense.
Yeah. I want to see guys steal bases, bro.
I know.
It's almost like catchers nowadays. Like they don't even get to show off like their arm, which is a part of the game. Like, you know, like just a guy running and like, where's the Ricky Hendersons of the world, dude? Like, you know, they aren't there. I mean, a part of it is. I mean, they're there. I think they're there. They just can't do it. Right.
I think it's a combination that we're just lacking the athletes. Ricky Henderson's another one, man. I mean, that's a kind of our era. You know, I bet you had the batting gloves too.
The Mizunos.
I mean, just another. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, we need them to play. You know.
I think, and even from a business perspective, algorithms are great, but they're not the answer.
No.
AI has its place, but I think the organizations in any industry that are going to fully rely on AI are going to die. And it's because there's something about the human spirit and the human approach that I believe is important. And Espy, you saw this too. How many guys did you see that we played with? I can name you 5 guys that they weren't the best in BP. They didn't stand out. But man, in a game, they were baseball players. They made shit happen.
Yeah.
They made a difference in the game.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And there's a need for that. And a scout's ability to recognize, dude, you know what? That guy's a ball player. That guy's a winner.
Yep.
That guy's going to make my guy that much better.
Yeah.
You need that.
Of course. As a scout, you take notes, and you obviously want the guys with big tools that are big athletes, but there's a ton of value guys that, they may not be like plus athletes, but they're good athletes, but they have incredible instincts. They just can really play. I mean, those guys, like the Justin Turners, hey, is that guy a plus athlete? No, but that guy's a great player. You know what you're going to get from him every day. He made himself a player too. Yeah. Got better, made some adjustments, and there's always room for really good baseball players.
No doubt. And I'm happy to see guys like yourself who played the game, have an inside the game, have a pulse, being able to recognize and have an influence. And I think that's hopefully what you're going to help change the game as we move forward, especially here locally. I think you can be a major influence. I would love to have you come talk to our kids. Yeah. Hang out, on a Saturday, and I just think dude, I remember being such a kid and somebody showed up who played, and it's you get excited, you want to show off for that. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is cool.
So let's flip this now. So let's talk more about your journey.
Okay.
So you're this first round pick.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the University of Miami. You get the call that, hey, the Reds are not going to offer you another $1 million. So now we're going real life-changing money. Yeah. Okay. Take me, what happened? You go there?
Yeah,
were you in class? Were you?
No, I wasn't in class.
Were you at home?
Technically,
home and confused now?
Technically, if I set foot in the class, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Literally, like, if I'm inside the door and I do this.
It's over.
It's over.
Okay.
Literally. Cool. So I was at home. I never got to get in the car or go to school.
Okay.
So I accepted, and a few days later, my family, we flew up to Cincinnati. They had like a nice thing, and ultimately signed. And then like a couple weeks later, I went to Instructional League, and that was eye-opening because, like I said, I didn't really swing a lot of wood. I just swung metal.
Not even
practice or anything.
Like in BP at Gulliver, you were hitting metal.
I was hitting with metal. I mean, I had like a crappy Sport Authority wood. Like it was not good. Like in hindsight, I was like, that was such a bad wood bat. Now that I swung Marucci's and Louisville Sluggers and. But
you weren't swinging a sand bat, right?
No, exactly. But the thing is, like, guys weren't really doing that at that point.
We weren't.
Very rare. I think on Sundays sometimes we'd go to FIU and we would hit with wood. Remember?
Yeah.
But that was the extent of it. Like when I went to Gulliver, I just hit with metal. I played with metal. I think I just felt like, I'm going to swing the metal because that's when I was swinging a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, to me, it was evident how physically, like I was not like where the other guys were. I weighed 170 pounds soaking wet, if that. And I remember thinking when this instructional league is over, I really need to get after it. And I actually trained with Lou Deneen.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Big Lou.
Yeah. Love squats, got my legs really strong, and then came back weighing 185. I was different, but I was still able to run and all those things.
Lou, we all worked out with Lou. I mean, so you were in that.
And Raul Ibanez too.
Raul was there.
That's how I met Raul.
We talk about him all the time.
Yeah.
George Lombard was there.
George, I know George.
Jose Cruz Jr.
Yep.
Mikey Lowe.
Mikey, yeah.
At some point, I believe. Who was the guy that played right field for the White Sox? Venezuelan dude. Maglio Ordonez.
Maglio, yeah.
Several guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, he put the weight on our back and said, squat this bitch. Because
No, he...
And then you go run sprints outside and you're like, dude, you're flying.
Yeah. No, he did a great job. But that was really evident. And then I'll never forget this. The following spring training... that was going to be my first full season. I wasn't supposed to go to full season ball because I never played rookie ball. They were like, we're going to keep you in extended.
Okay.
So you can like get used to the bat. Like, no, there's no stats, at that point they're like.
Extended is all about getting your work in.
Yeah, getting your work in, getting better, getting comfortable. There was this college pick that was going to be the shortstop in low A, and he went out to a bar and something happened. He got, his face got beat in, and he missed some time. And then I was performing really well in spring training. I went to big league camp, and I didn't really play there because I was so young. I would just pinch hit and stuff. But
so you were taking pinch hits in big league camp?
Yeah. I was on the 40-man, so I had to go to spring training.
Got it.
So I went to big league camp.
Was that part of your contract?
Yeah, well, when you're in the 40-man, you have to go to big league camp. I was signed a major league contract, so I was put on the 40-man roster, which was like, in hindsight, another issue because there's only 3 options. And when you use your options, you have to be in the big league. So I kind of had...
Was that good or bad looking back?
In hindsight, it was bad because I was a high school pick and I needed more time.
So were you out there taking ground balls like Barry Larkin or something?
Yeah. With Barry. Barry was so good to me. First off, he's extremely friendly with young players. Sometimes you get big leaguers that actually big league people. He was so far from that. What a nice guy. Perfectly fluent in Spanish. I don't know if you know this, but he's a super intelligent guy.
I met Barry because my brother was coaching at the University of Miami, and Shane Larkin, his son, was the point guard. So I got to meet Barry. We would hang out sometimes in Coach Laranaga's office, and we talked about baseball. And super cool dude, man.
Super cool. One of the coolest, honestly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when I took this gig with the Reds at the end of 2019, I went down to the Dominican to watch our players and to evaluate, some other, young kids. And he was there working with the players. Barry Larkin, Hall of Famer, is in the Dominican on the field working with guys. I mean, this guy loves it. He's got millions in the bank.
You gotta love that, man. It's a passion, dude.
It's so good to see that there are people like that. I have a signed picture of him that I still have.
Was that a lot of pressure on you?
I put a lot of pressure on myself. Unfortunately, we didn't have a sports psychologist at that point. Now teams have them on the field. I would have.
Lewis has had a nice conversation with Laz Gutierrez. Who was doing...
He's doing that for the Boston, maybe?
Yeah, well, he's now the head coach at Nova Southeastern.
Yeah, he is.
But he did that, man.
If I would have had that, especially my first year, I would still be playing. My first year, my confidence, and I did pretty well still, but my confidence was all over the place, man. Especially the first half. I was horse shit the first half. I made a ton of errors. I never really made errors in high school. And then we get to pro ball. This is a separate issue. I was too coachable too. I just did what they told me, and I was uncomfortable doing things. I was throwing the ball all over the place. It was cold too, so I was playing in the infield with batting gloves. Imagine trying to throw a ball with batting gloves. But I was mentally all over the place. I didn't really have anyone to talk to about this stuff that knew how to put things in perspective. And I didn't have a process, I was just so results oriented that if the results weren't there, it totally destroyed my confidence. So there were things that happened the first couple seasons that I really needed that support. My dad was a good support, but he doesn't know, he's just typical Cuban dad that just coached the Inter Miami. But the sports psychologist is so important. By the time it was 2004, I was with the Tigers and we had one, and then Scott Boras hired Harvey Dorfman and a guy named Don Carmen to be the sports psychologist for his players. Harvey Dorfman wrote The Mental Game of Baseball. He passed away.
Raul lived in his basement.
Let me tell you, if you don't have it mentally, you stall or go backwards.
This is why I love this podcast so much.
Yeah.
This whole thing is so mental. Mm-hmm. And I think, and this is why I know that it makes me proud of the way we're teaching our kids, because I think we're doing it backwards. Mm-hmm. I'm more concerned about my son's ability to breathe in the batter's box and quiet his mind than I am about his swing.
Yeah.
If we can do that, then we'll work on the swing.
Yeah.
But if we can get to the batter's box and have a clear mind and the ability to slow your heart rate down and be in that present moment, then it just becomes it's all about results.
Yeah.
And a perfect example, one of the toughest things that I went through when I was done playing baseball was you always have a coach, right? And you have a leader, and you have that person to fall back on. When you go into this business world, you're kind of surviving and grinding, and you're grabbing all that you learn on the field, that work ethic, that character, that preparation, and you're going, and it's going to take you because you're out there. I hate to say this, but you're all against a lot of average mindsets.
Of course.
But it gets to a point where you realize, man, I want to go to the next level. And one of the best things I've done is I actually hired a guy that I work with right now. His name is Lucas Jaden, and he works with the Dodgers and he works with a bunch of people. He worked actually with Dave Roberts all year long, who had a lot of pressure. And my point is, you're 1,000% right when you say it's so important to have that therapeutic, that person that's understanding your mind shift and is telling you, let's fall in love with the process because we can't control the result.
Exactly.
But if we prepare and we have this plan, the results are going to be there.
Of course.
But your first round pick, all you care about is it the next day that says, if it says 0 for 3 or 2 for 3. But that 0 for 3, it could have been like, dude, you hit the ball amazing. You had great at-bats. You saw your approach was amazing. Mm-hmm. And that 3 for 3 or that 2 for 3, it really wasn't the best at-bats. The ball just happened to find a hole. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's how you look at that.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't have a process.
You know?
Yeah, I didn't have a process. And like you said, like people are so results oriented. And don't get me wrong, you need the results.
No doubt.
Like the results have to be there, but you got to fall in love with the process, and that's all you're worried about. Like the approach. I'm going to go through an at bat. I have my approach. I'm facing a sinker baller, right? Mm-hmm. My approach is, I'm not swinging at anything down. If he paints me down and away, like at the edge. Even if I get out, I shouldn't be mad. He did his job. But if he makes a mistake, that's what I have to do, and I have to hit it hard. Either hit it hard right at the second baseman, like you have to get comfortable knowing that like you could do everything right and you don't get the results. But if you fall in love with the process and you stick to it and you succeed on doing what you want to do in the box, that's all that matters. And then there's another element to it. Believe it or not, like I learned this like later in AAA. It just blew my mind. Like now that I'm in pro ball, like I didn't really understand how to be an unselfish player on the field. You know, because in high school I'm just hitting. You know, I just hit. Like, I was always just, like, better than everybody on the field. And everybody in high school, they don't throw very hard. Like, I wasn't going to be overmatched. But, like, it's just this, like, man on third, less than 2 out, right? You have to get that run in. Like, even if you get jammed and you hit a 78 hopper to shortstop,
who cares?
You did your job. I didn't know the value of that, believe it or not. Like, no one told me this. I couldn't believe this. This is, like, years later. I'm like, how did none of my coaches talk about the value of this stuff and what's important?
You're trying to hit a ball 400 feet.
And I'm here like, I want to get a hit. I want to get a hit. You know, it's like, yeah, you want to get a hit. But like when you start playing unselfishly, and this is like, I learned this later and I played this way in independent ball. When I played independent ball, I just played the win. I tried to do the right thing. It's crazy. Like, I'll give you another scenario. Man on second, nobody out. What are you trying to do? You're trying to, at the very least, move the guy over. So my approach, if I'm hitting from the left side, right, lefty, all right, I'm gonna get something that I could pull. Mm-hmm. But maybe the first strike, you want to really like find something you could hit hard. Okay, you get one strike, you're behind the counter. Like, let's at the very least move this guy over. I can't tell you how many times like I'd rolled over and the ball just found a hole. You know, because like, I don't know, the baseball gods reward you when you do things right. You know, when you do things right, so you gotta believe in it. You gotta always do the right thing. You may not always get the results, but when you, at the end of the day, like at the end of the season, or maybe it's a 10-year plan or something, it will be there.
There is magic in when you don't make things about you.
Oh my God.
I actually learned this in junior college, and when I went to FIU, it was opposite, because at FIU, it was the program, in my opinion, I say I'm 40 years old, there wasn't leadership, okay?
Yeah.
We happened to win a lot because of talent, but we really didn't have a leadership. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
In my freshman year in junior college, I hit 13 or 12 home runs. I will never forget, man on second, no outs. I'm hitting fifth, third, fourth, and always in that in JUCO. And I'm like, man, okay. My job's to, I wanted to win ball games. Right?
Of course.
How do you win ball games? You score runs.
Of course.
Dude, you know what? I'm going to move the guy over. Pop. Double in the gap. Home run. And I'm not trying to do it, but because I'm so focused on doing what's best for the team to win the game has a way to reward you.
Oh my God, you nailed it.
And it's life.
Yeah.
It's business. Like if we talk about this all the time, Doug Lewis and myself are like, well, the minute that JAG becomes about Doug Lewis and Fernie, this company's, I'm telling you, it's going down. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the wrong culture. It's going to be a me culture. And life is not about you. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy how you're saying, here's our first round pick playing baseball at the highest level, and you didn't know that until AAA. And I say that respectfully because you didn't know that.
I didn't. It was crazy.
Nobody ever told me control what you can control, by the way.
I know. Another thing.
What? What does that mean?
I know.
If you can't control that, we don't worry about that.
Exactly.
And it's not a coincidence that you learned that. And like you said, SP, you're like, all right, man on second, no outs, let me move him over. Boom, lean it to right field. Jack, double, roll, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. Versus you trying to like make it about you because in your head, you're thinking, dude, I got to get to the big leagues or I got to do this, I got to get a hit, I got to hit a double.
Yeah.
And minor league baseball, when I played it, the little time I was there, it's selfish.
It is.
They make it selfish.
And the coaches they play a huge role because some coaches, they don't really care, Because
they're just trying to coach in the big leagues themselves.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny, SP? Those guys, I actually think the guy who's there for the right reasons, who's trying to make you better, the game will reward him too.
Of course. A lot of our friends and I was telling my wife, Kristen, this, a lot of the guys that I'm close with are in the baseball world. I know they do things right just because I talk to them and we talk all the time.
You guys get it, man.
I mean, I'll just name a few guys. Guillermo Martinez is a big league hitting coach. Went to Coral Park after you did. I think you might have overlapped 1 year.
Yeah. You know Guille?
Guille, of course.
How's he doing, man?
He's in the big leagues, doing well.
Really?
Yeah, but I knew...
I got to get that guy on the podcast. He played at South Alabama.
Yeah. He was living in Tennessee.
Yeah, and did he have like an indoor facility?
He's doing well there. He's got an indoor facility and he's coaching in the big leagues. He's got Vlad Jr., Bo Bichette. He's got some good players there.
Talk about a guy who grew up in Miami, humble beginnings. I believe he's a Nicaraguan kid.
Yeah, very
and
humble.
Here you are now, living in Tennessee, coaching in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Dude, God is good, bro. I mean, when you do things right, good things happen to good people, man.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, I'm never like I'm not always right?
Yeah.
I'm wrong. But there are certain people that I've been around playing or whatever that I don't know. I think I'm just attracted to people with similar, I don't know, mindsets,
philosophies,
whatever it is. But I'll name a few guys, and I'm not surprised these guys are doing well. Like Paco's coaching in the big leagues, Guillermo's coaching in the big leagues, Kevin Howard's another guy. He got interviewed actually by the Reds. He went up to Cincinnati a couple days before I did for my interview with the Reds. He was going to, being interviewed for
this. He was the third baseman in Miami, right?
Yeah. He was interviewed to be the assistant hitting coach for the Reds. And he didn't get it, but he's a farm director now for the New York Mets. And those guys make more money than big league coaches, But the thing is, he does it right. He's invested in the players. Players respect him, like him, whatever, and that goes a long way. And he was always around winning, also, which. And that was a big thing for the Mets. They hired someone that was on his coaching staff every year to be their third base coach, and then I guess he was recommended, for their farm director position. He's a farm director for the New York Mets. He's pretty much like a front office type person now. But those are guys that you can see that happen before it happens. It's like another person that's going to do really well in baseball, Cesar Nicholas. He's going to do really well in baseball. He's got a good position with the Mariners. He oversees the development of the Latin players. I've actually learned a lot from him because I'm dealing with Latin players, and he's made me aware of certain things as I evaluate these guys, and it's been beneficial for me. So there's been just a lot of guys that I've spent years with playing, or that are
having tremendous effect.
They're impacting major league organizations, And the funny thing is, all these guys played indie ball too. If you play indie ball, you must really love baseball. And all these guys love it, but they're in it for the right reasons. And I'm not surprised that they're at where they're at. So it's like you said, just do the things right, and just stick to the process,
What do you think you could have done better? What are things that you think you could have done better?
The things I could have done better, I'll
take it as fun. Could you have had more fun?
I wasn't having fun.
Which I think is such a crucial and vital component of what we're doing.
I wasn't having a lot of fun, and I don't know if it was just the environment I was in, especially the first couple years of pro ball. My first year, it was a rough start, and then the second half, it was better. But the manager and I, I'll give you I'll tell you a story about this guy. Being too coachable could be problematic also, and just listening too much. But I've always been kind of taught hey, you're superior. You do what they say. That's always the way I was raised. I think it's like that for all of us. But in hindsight, this manager was a huge turd. I'll give you a couple stories of things he did to me. One day I was hitting BP, and I guess I was kind of kind of getting under the ball and hit a few into the turtle, and he was telling me, "Oh, you do that again, and you're going to do push-ups like Willie Mays Hayes in Major League." And he literally made me do push-ups, but he did it more so to kind of humiliate me because I was a first rounder.
Because nothing's going to come out of that.
Yeah, I'm you're holding BP up because I'm doing push-ups here on the turf, on the turf in the turtle. That's one example. Another day in 2001, Griffey started having injuries, and he came to Dayton to take BP on the field. And the manager called me and said, "Oh, want to come early and take BP with Griffey?" I was like, "Oh, hell yeah, I want to take BP." Plus, I was struggling as I want to hit. I showed up probably 12:30-ish, 1, and the field's already set up for Griffey. And the manager's son was there. He's a high school kid. Hey, how you doing? He's a high school kid. And I didn't hit. I shagged for his son in Griffey. That's what I'm saying. There were elements like that I really needed a psychologist, because these are things that
it's almost like he was playing mind games with you.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
But they're not healthy mind games.
They're not. And another
especially if you're struggling, where you probably need that guy to say, "Hey."
Oh, I was struggling big time.
You're a guy, dude.
I needed.
You needed confidence, man.
I needed confidence. I didn't have any. That really, this is things that I reflected on way after the fact. I'm like, man, that
you don't realize how much that's affecting you at the moment, actually.
Yeah. It's
because now you're going home pissed off. You got a 7:00 game. You're like, fuck this guy. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, he really, and Mark played with him, so he could tell you. He wasn't. And maybe he doesn't know the extent of what he was doing to me, but this guy was an enormous piece of shit. Unfortunately, he got in trouble. There were a couple of things he did, and I had a good relationship with the infield coordinator. He was really the only guy. Well, there was another couple guys I liked a lot that I loved, that I really respected, that had good intentions for me. One is Freddie Benavidez. He was the infield coordinator. It doesn't surprise me. He's coaching in the big leagues. He's actually with the Reds. He's still there. And there was a hitting coordinator named Leon Roberts who's still in the game. He was super positive. He never talked mechanics with me. But besides those two guys, the environment was poor. And the manager made it really bad. He obviously like loosened up on me a little bit when I started performing, but he wanted to send me down. I'll never forget, I got a call from Mike Fischlin, he works for Scott Boras. He's like, they're thinking about sending you back down to extended, and so you can then go to Billings, which was the original plan.
I played against the Reds in Billings. I was in Great Falls.
Oh, okay, so Billings. But I'll never forget, like, I don't know. I think I already had a couple months under my belt, and I can feel like I was starting to figure it out, even though the results weren't there. I ended up like doing fine. I think in the second half, the first half I was horrible. I hit like 220 with like 1 homer, a million errors, literally like 30 errors. Like it was embarrassing, And
it was all mental.
Oh, it was all mental. I had no confidence. And then before the second half started, I made like some little adjustments. As crazy as it sounds, it was such a little league adjustment. And this guy, and his name is Tom Hickman. He passed away. He was kind of like a hitting coordinator, but I think it was more so because he's a veteran, really old man. It's like, hey, try choking up on the bat a little bit. It was just that.
Choke up with the
literally like half an inch or 3/4 of an inch. I choked up from the get-go, and I don't know if it was mental, maybe it was physical, maybe a little bit of both. But after that, I started raking, man. And then I had some confidence, and I kind of rolled with it. But still, like, even though I had confidence in the second half, I ended up hitting like 290 or 300. I ended up hitting 265 with 7 homers. So I hit 6 home runs the second half. Wow. Played good defense. I only made like 9 errors the second half in like 60 games, that's not a lot of errors when you're 19 and low A, but still, like, I still needed that kind of like sports psychologist type guy, because you don't only talk to them when you're going bad, like you talk to them when you're going well. I think they're an incredible tool. Like, I think you talk to them all the time.
I think so too, man. And I think especially in a game that's so mental, just like life. I mean, we all need somebody to be able to talk to.
Yeah.
We all need that person that kind of you can get vulnerable with and say, dude, I'm down on the dumps, man. Like, let's talk about this. And I actually think there's an issue where you may have players with ego who don't want to say that they're, down on the dumps, or may be afraid to say that because they think, well, that can hurt me contractually or whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But it's there's so much more mental to the game, to the athlete, especially at that level, than there is physical. As you know, I mean, everybody's there because they got something physically, right? They're there, they've got something.
Yes.
But I just think it's who can handle, who can kind of create a mindset that, and a process that allows them to play their best more consistently and still not be afraid to make it about winning baseball. Knowing that if I do that, good things are going to happen. Yeah. But sometimes, like you said, I mean, the environment. I mean, there were times I was playing in the minor leagues. I'm like, dude, I think we were in the playoffs. We were playing Billings, and I'm facing Camilo something. It was a lefty.
Camilo from here.
Miami guy.
Lefty, yeah, great arm.
Throwing hard, 90-something. Lefty. I think I had a man
Camilo
on second.
Vasquez.
And I think I laid one down. And I got bitched at. Like, dude, man on third. Like, I think it was like the 6th inning. Like, we're going to score a run. No, you got to hit. Oh, okay. I mean, I did it on my own. Yeah. But I got called out for it.
Really?
But I was used to it. I just want to win the game. Like, it's environment. We had a nice little packed stadium. Like, you want to win the game. And sometimes it's not about that, and it confuses guys. It does. It confuses people. What? Now that you're on the scouting side of things, now that you're on the opposite spectrum, what's your parents, right? What's your parents who have kids, who love this game, who've got some talent, want to play college baseball, want to play Major League Baseball, like, what do you see out there that parents should be aware of? And kind of like giving advice to these kids to like of what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Whether it's baseball, girls tennis, like sports or sports. What's one thing that you're seeing out there that's maybe not scary but dangerous in the sense of like, hey, we've got to shift perspective, especially in this modern world. Is there anything that you would like to share that maybe you see that kind of is you're aware of that kind of? I
can only kind of go by like some of the things I've seen. You know, people have Instagram and they see what people's kids are doing, but you know, there's this one particular person that, you know, he's super proud of his son. I'm not going to name his name, but he should be proud of his son. But now I feel like, just based on social media, I know that I don't know why I feel like this. I feel like he puts a ton of pressure on his kid. Now he's like, we need you to get drafted out of high school. And it's like, buddy, relax. Like, you don't know what's out there. You know, like, I'll never forget this. And I get it. Like, people are proud of their kid. He's ranked 30th and he's... Yeah,
we didn't have that back then. I don't understand that. But
yeah, but it's like...
that's got to be a lot of work.
That doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't, right?
You could be like top 10, literally the year of the draft. It doesn't matter. You still have to keep working and you still got to perform. And then you have to, not only you have to perform in front of the right people. I forgot who told me this, but every time, like, okay, like you probably, you weren't there, but I'm sure you heard, but whenever Montañez played games, there was probably a lot of scouts, and the same thing with me, but there were certain games.
When I was playing with Monty,
mm-hmm.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was a circus.
Yeah.
You and Monty both was a circus.
Yeah. And there was usually always people at the game, but then there were certain games where like, okay, there's extra people here. There's cross-checkers, there's directors.
GMs in some cases.
GMs in some cases. I had a game. I'll never forget this game because this guy's a legend, and this is the ultimate. I thought this was such a compliment. George Brett went to one of my games.
Wow.
And I was like, man, that guy's a legend, you know.
No, they were asking for advice on you.
Yeah. So, and then it was a game against Key West, and Key West was big time. It was a big time game. So not only were a lot of fans, there was a lot of cross-checkers and stuff there. And I played pretty well. We ended up winning the game. But anyway, like, I don't want to go off on that tangent, but I think, like, sometimes parents are trying to set goals for their kids, you know, because they're kind of living through them, but you want to help them, but not like set these like crazy not that they're unrealistic, but these, like, for instance, like, we need you to get drafted out of high school. It's like, hey, like, pump the brakes, man. You're in high school. I think the goal here is, hey, I want to, like, you know, maybe get a scholarship or whatever and have an opportunity to go somewhere where I can play right away. Mm-hmm. That's not going to change how you play in high school. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, if I want to get drafted, I want to play harder. No, like, it doesn't matter if you're going to be a first rounder or you're not going to be like a high draft pick. Like, that shouldn't change what you're doing. Just like, first off, you got to do well in school, because if you don't do well in school, you can't play, you know? And then you got to work, you know? Those are the things you have to do. Those are things you can control, like put the effort in school, get your grades, and do. And when I say work, it's not like going to high school practice and go home. Like, you got to do extra. My senior year, this is always like a nice memory of mine because I really love these guys. But me, Danny, and Paco, after practice, we would go to Sluggers every day because remember they used to do memberships, 10 tokens a day.
Yeah.
And man, like, I felt like, because that was still like my second year switch hitting, and I felt like that really helped me, but it obviously helped them because they got better too. And by the time I mentioned, like, our high school team senior was really, really good. Like, I mean, we crushed people, you know. We had 3 or 4 people that were 90 plus off the mound, a ton of people that played pro ball, but me, Danny, and Paco, especially since we work together, we go to the batting cages every day, and I knew before this, my senior year, their junior year, that we were going to have a great year, you know, because we put in the extra work.
You put in the work.
So it's not just like going to your practice. You have to work on your own, you know, because you only have so many hours a day and you got to be efficient with your time. You can't sacrifice school. You got to find a way. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but like I had to do that, right? Go from, and I lived in Palmetto Bay at that point, go all the way to Tamiami. Danny and Paco lived near there, but I went there because, you know, we knew the owners. It was Alex Suarez and Gabby Sanchez's dad. And come back, but like it was like always like by the time I got back, it was 8:30. I was tired, so I always ate dinner and I went to bed 9ish, and I would wake up 4:30 to do homework. You know, and I did my homework in the morning before going to school, so I was able to do that. But so like you sometimes have to make some kind of sacrifices to get what you want. You know, I wanted to hit extra. Well, you may not, maybe you'll be tired, but get to bed and like wake up and do your homework, you know? I think like for someone that aspires to...
I love that, man, only because it goes to show you, SP, that you were a first round pick and you went as far as you did in baseball, and we could all sit here and say, well, maybe you should have gone farther or this or that, but you got there, you know, you got there. But you worked your ass off to do that, and you loved it. Yeah,
that's the thing. That's actually the first question
you loved it, man.
We ask our area guys about players, like, do they love the game? Because you have to love it, because this game will beat you down badly. If you don't love it, you're out. Like, people are just out. Like, I've seen people just quit in the middle of the season. Like, you know, I've heard of people quitting in the middle of the season, that kind of thing, you know?
Think about from the days you were in Tamiami and take that road, dude, all the way through high school, through the minors, through all your professional experiences. How many times did you fail, man?
Oh, my God. A lot. Not so much like in Tamiami and stuff. And you mentioned it before.
That's the beauty about baseball.
Yeah, there's a lot of failure. You get tested a lot, especially when you play high level. I mean, you get tested in college, don't get me wrong. And even in high school, like...
Well, the game, this is...
Yeah. That's what... I don't know. That's a great thing about sports. It really develops the ability to deal with failure.
It is, man, and it's one of the toughest things that I've had to deal with in the business world. Is I have this mindset of an athlete. It's just embedded in me. I don't know any better, dude. I don't want to know any better.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
and we have one of the things that I love about the athlete is that he or she has the ability to fail and to get back up and do it again. And when you do that over and over and over and over again, you become a stronger person. It strengthens you,
of course,
and it makes you. It just makes you better, because you know, life throws curveballs to all of us, and life has no feelings and emotions sometimes. You know, I believe in doing the right thing, good things happen. You know, but it's so difficult, SP, to take that mindset and try to apply it to a 35-year-old person who their whole life has been just want to get by, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to be here 9 to 5, and I want to get a paycheck and go home. And
yeah,
you realize, man, how what the value it is to be in a room full of people who may be different, come from different walks of life and different environments, but they all have a common goal. and that goal is to be a big leaguer or to and man, it's challenging for. I don't know if it's challenging for you when you're sitting there and you're looking at somebody like, dude, like you got to work and you got to do this, and they look at you like they don't get it.
Yeah.
Or like if you're being mean to them, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you're like, I don't know if you know, like I struggle with that. It's like it's almost like, oh my God, like you know, it's taking an average mindset and how do you shift that?
That's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, no,
it's
a challenge.
I think a lot of it is like what you had been through, you know, to develop that mindset. I don't think you just have it, honestly. Like I mentioned, the ability to deal with failure, you have to fail. You can't just be good at failing. Okay, that's not the right way to say it, but the ability to deal with failure, you just have to be able to fail and, like you said, get yourself up.
No, I think you have to fall in love with failing.
Mm-hmm. You learn. That's where you learn a lot.
That's all. I don't think you're failing. I think you're learning.
Yep.
And then how do you become a winner if you don't know how to lose?
Oh, I know. Exactly. You don't want that feeling of loss. Like you want to win games.
I think you learn how to win by making mistakes.
Of course. That's where you learn, for sure, 100%.
That's where you learn, man.
Mm-hmm. But it's also good to, as we discussed earlier, we failed in baseball our whole life, even in Tammy. I mean, you didn't get a hit every time, but hey, we were hitting 500, 600, and then you get to pro ball, and then all of a sudden it's a fraction of that. And or even less of a fraction of that. Sometimes it's 200. Imagine hitting 200 at Tammy. Benched, hitting 12th, you know? But anyway, the ability to deal with failure, those kind of psychologists, like they kind of help you develop a perspective and develop that mindset. You need to develop the ability to deal with failure. You know, I think you have a business, and let's just say you have 2 resumes. Mm-hmm. All is equal, you know, good school, good grades, you know, good recommendations, but this person played a sport for many years, and this person didn't.
You know where I'm going.
I mean, but it's not just you. I mean, I'm
attracted to that.
Of course.
Because I know that if I had to, hiring somebody is somewhat of a gamble. There's people who are professional interviewers.
Of course.
Right, but then you put them in the game, and it's like, okay,
exactly.
They don't want to play. They don't.
Exactly.
What you got in the interview is not what you're going to get in the field.
Yeah.
But what I like about that resume is that, okay, if I had to, I'm thinking, okay, that person knows that they got to get up at a certain time. They got to be a team player. Mm-hmm. They got to be coachable.
Yep.
They got to be able to handle constructive criticism. Mm-hmm. They're probably going to be tougher mentally people.
Yes. Than
the person who hasn't done that. I'm not knocking that other person, but this is an advantage.
Yeah, it is an advantage. And again, like I'm just talking theoretically, because they could have played a sport too, but maybe they were a shitty teammate.
Correct.
You don't know. But I'm just saying, like, I think when you play a sport, it develops a lot of things that are attractive because those are things that transfer over to the real world, like, discipline, competitiveness. Like, hey, like an athlete that has always been around a winning environment, hey, like, yeah, you're not playing baseball now, but like, I'm trying to kick ass here. I'm not trying to be average or just collect a paycheck, Those are things I feel like.
And I can tell you as a business owner, you see that. Mm-hmm. You know who's the person that's going to be here, mm-hmm. and it's going to grow. Yep. Right? Cream rises to the top.
Of course.
And you see that, and you're like, dude, it's just a matter of time. That person will end up being, in some sort of leadership role, or their game will just take them to where they need to. And if you don't take care of those people, someone's going to find them for you too. Yeah. So you got to be able to identify those people.
Of course, try to keep them.
Of course, it's part of being a solid organization. Is keep your players, reward your players, take care of your players.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. The game of baseball just is. It's a beautiful game, man. It's the closest game to life.
Yeah,
it's the closest game to life. As we close this out.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to ask this question: if you could take back one thing, okay,
mm-hmm.
and give it as an advice, or as I don't think I think it's wisdom that you now have.
Yeah.
What would that be?
I think from my experiences, you're talking about like baseball and like
that whole baseball portion of that one aspect of your life
mm-hmm.
that was baseball. I don't think baseball is your identity. I think you're David Espinosa, and there's a lot more than just baseball in you.
Mm-hmm.
But from that baseball perspective, what's one thing that you look back and you say, you know what, I'm okay with this now. It could have hurt you, when you first had to kind of like come to realization that could have cost you your career. There's something that we could have all done better.
Yeah. I think there are a number of things that I think I could have done better.
There's always room for improvement, but
but I want to say the one thing and I mentioned this earlier, that I think would have influenced everything else, because I didn't deal with failure very well at all, especially the first couple seasons.
Mm-hmm. You hadn't failed in years.
I know, and
nobody told you no.
I'm playing people older than me. I had some shitty teammates, especially my second year. That year I got traded. I was so happy to get out of that locker room. It was just a lot of. I mean, I'm not knocking them for playing in the rate, but there are a lot of 26-year-olds playing high A, and I'm 20, and I'm the one that plays every day, and I was doing pretty well that year. But I think the one thing that I wish I had was really have someone to talk to, because that would influence everything else. Because that person, these people are baseball people. Not that I have a degree in this, but I feel like now that I've experienced this and I've put these things into play myself, I can pass that along to younger players. But, obviously not everybody has the luxury to have this, but I think a sports psychologist is a must. I mean, I know some, maybe not necessarily when they're playing in Tamiami,
Yeah, but it's
when you realize you're becoming a dude, and everybody comes from different financial circumstances. But I think by the time, if you really know you're going to move on.
That's another topic for another day. We can have you back on that.
Oh, yeah. I would love to talk about this. I could talk about this all day.
I would love to have you back and talk about when you signed and you had all that money, the pressure you may have felt
mm-hmm.
to not take care of your family and all. There's this we can't cover all this.
Yeah,
that's a whole. And I've actually had this conversation with other players who
mm-hmm.
that's a topic that's not discussed about, but you start to feel responsibility financially for other people.
Yep.
And that's pressure, dude.
Yep.
Because that's shifting where you should be focused on.
Yeah.
Again, you're controlling something you can't control. Just because you're a millionaire and your aunt's not, it's not your fault.
Yeah, exactly.
But what we can talk about another time. Now, to end this on an amazing note, what's the one thing that you think that you did awesome with, man?
I made a lot of good friends.
I knew you were going to say that, by the way. I wanted you to say relationships,
yeah, bro. Relationships.
It's why you're here today.
And I don't know if you're on that Facebook page with all the minor league players, but
no, dude, I got to get on Facebook.
Yeah, it's very useful, especially because people help each other with jobs.
Can you tell me where to go?
I think they have to add you or something.
Okay.
We could talk about it later.
Okay.
But anyway, the relationships are probably the biggest thing, and the other thing that I'm proud of about my career, even though I didn't play in the big leagues. That's ultimately what I want to do. But I've always felt like, especially after I was done playing, and I heard a lot of people tell me this, is like that I was a really good teammate. You know, I felt like that was a better compliment than, oh, he was a great player, because I had holes in my game, but I always felt like I put the effort every day. I was always very good to my teammates. I stood up for guys. And a quick little story. It was about Guillermo. I love Guillermo. Just a quality person, right? He played on my independent team in 2011. And we had a good team. We pretty much had a AAA team. We kicked every team's ass. We were really good. But he was a shortstop. I played second, and I think he hit kind of at the bottom of the lineup. But he contributed. He was more of a, middle of the field, opposite field. Wasn't a power hitter. Mm-hmm. And our manager, who was, I think, looking to, I guess, improve offensively, in July, because there's even a trade deadline and stuff. He wanted to bring this shortstop from some other team, and the other guy was hitting, but I kind of knew that guy wasn't the right fit, because the makeup was, I'll just say, questionable. But I had to literally tell the manager, you cannot do that. He's the right guy, he's
he is our guy.
He's our guy. He's doing fine. And, I think he was very appreciative of that, because after the season, his dad, who passed away a few years ago, pulled me aside. He's like, oh, I just want to say thank you for what you did for Guillermo, I was I was in a position to help him, because I was a veterano, and I was MVP of the team that year, But I've always felt like I got to stand up for my teammates, And I'm not saying that was a great teammate every day. I'm sure, we're human. We say stupid things sometimes. But by the time I was done playing, I heard that all the time, And I really love that compliment. I respect that more than being a good player.
Well, I think that's amazing legacy. Mm-hmm. And I think for guys to look at you and say, dude, Espy was a good dude to play with. Mm-hmm. That's more important than anything else, bro. At the end of the day, nobody cares, SB.
Yeah.
People care about people.
Exactly. And those are things we could pass on to our kids.
Nobody's look. How many guys had great stats and they were jerks? I know a lot.
I know.
The friendships, the relationships, the mindset, that's what we take on forever. Mm-hmm. And I think that you having that respect from your teammates says a lot about who you are, mm-hmm. and about what the game taught you. Mm-hmm. And you're just going to be a blessing for baseball now, and as you turn your page and now start giving back to a game that gave you so much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the one thing that I'm really proud of, honestly. And we have kids now, and we want to pass those things along to them, because they're kids and they're going to make a ton of mistakes, but we have to be there. And our kids actually have a luxury, because we've been through it and we can help them.
Been there, done that, man.
Yeah.
That's why when I'm in these coach pitch games and I'm watching these artificial travel ball teams where they handpick the top 8 players of this district, and I'm playing with families, and I got 4 or 5 kids that can play, and the other 4 are still trying to figure it out. And I'm like, dude, wait till we get to 12. You could just, it's an artificial market, and it's almost you're creating a monster, because these kids think that's the way it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And when they have to go and take ground balls in front of SP's not going to care. Hey man, what travel team did you play for? When all SP knows is, I'm here to watch you today. He's going to watch his makeup. He's going to watch from the minute that he gets out of the car, mm-hmm. to how he goes about his stretches. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care about the travel team and his ranking.
Yeah. As a scout, you watch everything.
And parents need to understand that.
Yeah.
That it's an artificial market. Mm-hmm. I think that we should go back to the old. I'm all about the new school. There's no doubt. But I said this 2 days ago. I said, we've got to be very careful in this new modern world of trying to reinvent everything. I think that there's a lot of things and principles that have been established for years that work. Mm-hmm. And yes, we can get better, but we can't get away from the foundation of the hard work. Be a good person, prepare, be a good teammate. Mm-hmm. Don't make it about you. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're living in an era where it's so consumed about you and about what I have and my Instagram page, and it's just like, dude, you know what, man? Like, that's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. That's not a long-term play. I think the best, the people that end up making it are just they don't make it. They're just good people, mm-hmm. and on top of being elite athletes, and it's more than just baseball. So. Yeah,
because the game ends for everybody at some point. And do you want to be known as that turd in the locker room? I wouldn't want to be known like that, you know? I like the legacy I've left. And I think that's what, you know, and once our kids are old enough, they'll understand the value of being a good teammate. Like, hey, your teammate struck out and he's pouting in the dugout. Hey, it's okay. Like, just turn the page, and next time you get them. And if you don't get them next time, well, the time after that, you'll get them. But we're going to keep...
And if not, dude, I'm going to stay with you after practice, and we'll go to the cage. And,
exactly.
And to end this, it's just... What I can tell you what baseball did for me was the relationships. Yeah. And the healthiness of that environment and it's such a pure place. It's not a perfect place. Sometimes there's drama like anything else.
Of course.
But man, did it do a lot. But I want to thank you for coming on. Yeah. I thought it was great content. Yeah. I'd love to have you back and talk a little bit more about your experience.
Yeah. I have a lot of things I can share that would be beneficial and educational for everybody.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you so much, Espen.
You got it, buddy.